Womp dudes, it's Gaz, and welcome back to the WARFRAME video. Today we're going over the Phantasma Prime, which is really unnecessary, but it does exist. So, yeah, it's really nasty, and we'll be going over all the builds and stuff. Got no Riven builds. We talk about Rivens, and talk about synergy frames you can use with the Phantasma Prime. Before we get to though, make sure you check out the live stream channel as well, because we do live stream quite often, and we do daily WARFRAME video uploads on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell and all that stuff. Alright, so Phantasma Prime versus Phantasma Normal. I'm not going to even beat around the bush here. It's not a huge upgrade. It might be a huge upgrade in the crit department, but overall, you're not looking at too big of a bump up in power here. So, as far as differences between the normal Phantasma and the Phantasma Prime, we complained before it came out and it worked. It's got 330 maximum ammo, and it picks up 15 ammo per pickup. So over one magazine. It is one magazine if you're playing Revenant, though, because with Revenant or Revenant Prime holding this weapon, it goes from 11 magazine to 15 magazine. So, decent enough ammo there. The fire rate's the same as the normal one. 0.5 reload. This thing reloads a lot, so that 0.5 reload is good. I use Merciless on it, too, to make it even faster reload, but up to you. It's got 6 multi-jets, so this is a beam shotgun. It's not going to be like a normal shotgun firing out like a bunch of pellets. It's got multiple beams, so very different. As you can see, instead of pellets, we got beams here. And the big upgrades you get from the Phantasma to the Phantasma Prime is you're going from 3% crit chance on the Phantasma Normal to 11% crit chance on the Phantasma Prime, and also getting a crit damage buff from 1.5 to 1.9. So that's really what you're looking at here. It's the exact same weapon, but with a crit increase and technically more ammo, which I don't even know if they did that on purpose. So looking at what we're doing here, it's going to be very similar to the normal Phantasma. I'm going to show you the build that I usually rock right here. It's literally the Phantasma normal build. If you're like, okay, well, I don't want to just run the normal Phantasma build because it's the Phantasma Prime. It's got 8% more crit chance. Then all you need to do is do something like this, where you put the Prime Ravage mod, crit damage mod for shotguns, just throw that on there. It's seriously just as good. Maybe not just as good. It's good if you're using a crit buff. I would not recommend really modding this thing for crit unless you're using like Arcane Avenger or something, which we will be showing in the gameplay footage, and we've also got a special build for Saryn at the end too that we'll show. So the general gist of this is that you get a kill, and then once you get some kills on some easy enemies, then you can just melt everything in sight. Because we have so many beams, that blob of death laser right there, that's a bunch of beams all taking their own status chance and all their own crits and stuff. So we're going to get some kills on some trash ads here. Now we've got some galvanized stacks. These guys are no problem now. The big thing you want to look at when you're making a build for the Phantasma is how high the percentages and numbers are for your weighting of heat and other damage over time stats effects. Since we have so many beams that are dealing damage and causing status procs, we want to make sure that we're proccing the statuses that do the most for us when they have lots on there. So, for example, viral procs are capped out at 10 on an enemy. They'll take a bunch of extra damage with those 10 procs, but you can't go above 10 viral procs on enemies. Same with the radiation procs and the impact procs. The things that can go above 10 are things like heat procs, electric procs, toxin procs, etc. Basically, those are the main ones. So, you want to make sure that your number on your build for heat is much higher than your viral and radiation and impact numbers. That's why modding 3 heat mods on here is very good, because once we get 10 procs of viral, we don't need any more viral procs. So everything else should be either electric or heat after that. Okay, so this is the main build I run. It's the same thing as the normal Phantasma. We've got Galvanized Hell, Galvanized Savvy, and Galvanized Acceleration. That's triple Galvanized mod. That's how you know the build's going to be good, honestly. The rest of it is just going to be getting the elementals we want on here, and the Bane of the Grenier, if you're fighting the Grenier. Of course, you're fighting the Corpus or the Corrupted, you switch that around. These Bane mods help a lot with damage over time and heat procs, so that's something you definitely want to try. Now, I said that don't run Ravage unless you have a crit buff from somewhere else. I'm going to show you that in the gameplay footage, but basically our crit multiplier goes from 1.9 to 4x. I would not recommend modding for crit chance on here because you're only going off of the 11% base. So we're going to 33%, but you're losing fire rate. So you might even need to mod for fire rate or use a wisp in some other place. So I would really not recommend modding for crit chance, guys. It's just not really worth the mod slot to me. So another thing about this weapon, and one of the reasons that it's not my main go-to weapon all the time, it is the worst. I'm going to go ahead and say I think it's one of the worst weapons in the entire game for destroying Steel Path Acolytes. And the reason for that is because, as you can see, I'm shooting this Acolyte with my gun that fires out hundreds of heat procs per second. But he's only got 4 heat procs. Acolytes and certain other enemies have a status cap for things like heat, slash, electric, blah, blah, blah. So with this weapon relying on lots of heat procs getting added together really quickly, it's not good. If you were to fight this guy with the heat proc, you'd want like a gigantic heat proc all at once. And this is not really doing that. It's making a bunch of them added up into a big one, which I guess we see it as a big one, but the behind the scenes math of the game is actually a bunch of them just getting added together. So it's really bad for Acolytes. This Acolyte kill took about 2 minutes straight of shooting him. And it was the Limbo Acolyte, so that was kind of annoying. But I had Teeming Virulence from Nidus, and I had Eclipse from Mirage active a little bit here too. And he even killed me. So as you can see, the enemies in the background, they're dying like instantly pretty much. But everything, the Acolyte itself, it doesn't even care. And I just took this one to the grave. I kept fighting the Acolyte until the life support ran out. But yeah, everything else was dying pretty quickly. So let's move on to some actual gameplay. And as far as like crit buffs and all that, what you can do for this, I'm going to recommend that if you're going to be running a Ravage build, we'll show the Ravage build. It's still pretty good. You're going to be wanting to do something like this. I like it on Harrow a lot, but we're going to run Arc and Avenger. So on damage, we get increased crit chance. That's additive crit chance. So it's not multiplying how much 11% crit chance we have. It's just plus 45 on top of that. So over 50% crit chance when it's all added up. Combat this one, when we kill an enemy, we will take 2 damage. That's just good to proc it if you're not getting shot all the time. And that's basically it. Harrow's 4th ability will give you lots of crit chance. And this thing can red crit with Harrow. It's pretty funny. So we'll just show that here. I'm going to unpause the AI. I might as well put invincibility on though. We're going to use Harrow's 4 and Arcane Avenger. Not to mention Harrow's 2nd ability gives you increased fire rate and increased reload speed, making it so you can just like fire off those heat procs real fast. Once the 4th ability activates, there you go. Now you're in crit mode. Everything is a crit. Now as you can see though, it's not even that crazy. It's more fun in mission, I'd say. As long as you're getting a headshot, you're getting plus 200% crit chance on headshot. There's a red crit right there. I've seen over 1 million damage with this weapon that doesn't even have very high base damage using Harrow on the Steel Path. So it's really good on the Steel Path. It has an alt fire too. The alt fire didn't really change. Basically, you tap it and it explodes. Fires out some seeking projectiles. And yeah, it's not really, it wasn't changed at all really. It will be used in the Saryn build we're going to show in a little bit here. But let's just get started with some Harrow gameplay. I'm just going to skip to like the good stuff, basically. So yeah, if you are looking for a weapon for the Steel Path, as you see right there, I'd kill the Acolyte with melee. I wasn't even going to bother with the Phantasma. If you want a good weapon for the Steel Path and you don't have the normal Phantasma, I mean, yeah, it's worth getting. It's definitely worth getting. But if you are someone that uses Riven mods and you already have the normal Phantasma, it's pretty much just mastery fodder, honestly. It's the exact same weapon with like slightly increased crit stats. I know I say slightly when they like basically quadruple the crit chance, but you know, it still basically requires Arcane Avenger to actually get reliable crits, or it requires Harrow. I was using Teeming Virulence from Nidus. I was using some other crit buffs from like Cyanax and stuff. Those go off of the base crit, so it's not really that crazy on frames like Nidus and stuff. It's only going to be really noticeable on additive crit chance situations like Harrow and Avenger. But if you are someone that already uses Rivens, and you probably already know this, the Riven stats on the Phantasma Prime are basically half the stats of the Rivens with Phantasma Normal. I really wish, and I'm going to probably have a full video on this soon, I really wish that DE would just like, you know, let's quit this charade. We know that this weapon is not supposed to have 0.5 dispo. The normal Phantasma has like 1.2. This is not that major of an upgrade over the Phantasma Normal. Like, it might be an upgrade to some people, and I would say it actually is technically an upgrade, but it's not an upgrade where it's like, okay, Riven stats cut in half because of 0.4 extra crit multiplier. 8% more crit chance, half the Riven stats. Does that sound realistic to you? It doesn't to me. So when I look at my Riven, I'm actually going to, on certain builds, I'm probably going to still use the Phantasma Normal. Like, for example, the final Saryn build we're going to show, I'm going to probably just use the Phantasma Normal because let's just look at what my Riven does here. Okay, I can't even fit it on, but 61% multi-shot, 39% status chance, 23% magazine, and minus 44% slash. So I get 61% multi-shot, which, you know, multi-shot's always good. Magazine size only gives me 3 more bullets. When we look at the Phantasma Normal, if we didn't care about the crit stats, let's say we didn't care about the crit stats, we weren't playing Harrow, we were playing some other frame, look at how much more bang for your buck you get out of this Riven. I was running Ravage just to test something out. 128% multi-shot, 82% status, 48% magazine size, and 92% minus slash. So we get 5 bullets instead. We get double the multi-shot. That multi-shot's really good for hitting all those heat procs that I was telling you about. So Honestly, if you're trying to use the weapon seriously, you should probably just use the normal Phantasma, unless they ever buff the Phantasma Prime's Riven Dispo, which I think they should, because it honestly feels unjustified how low it is right now. So yeah, that's the general gist of Phantasma. As far as like Exilis mods, the Beam Range mod works for this thing. Also, Galvanized Acceleration, which is a shotgun exclusive projectile speed and beam length mod, that works for this thing too. That's the main one I'd use. It lets you shoot this like from across the room and hit like enemies really easily. Some people also there's lots of different things you can do with the Phantasma. The main one that some people will recommend to you is that mod that gives you spread. I think it's this one. Yeah, this will make the beam fly around like crazy and like cover more area. But for focus damage, I think you should definitely be running more something like this. Now let's go over the Saryn build and what I'm going to recommend for the Saryn build, even though I told you the Phantasma normal is probably better for the Saryn build we're about to show. So the Saryn build I'm going to show you is the anti-corpus Saryn build using Combustion Beam. I know some people have already talked about this before, but I've never actually made a video of it on my channel, so we're going to go over it a little bit today. So the idea of the exploding, or Combustion Beam, I guess it's called, is that it's going to be, when an enemy dies, they will, and this is a mod only for beam weapons, when an enemy dies, they will explode at 600 damage after death. If you are using Saryn's third ability, Toxic Lash, this 600 damage after death will become toxin damage, and also will, get increased as well. So, the idea of this setup is kill a corpus, and then the corpus in the area blow up as well. So you want to be running, and another thing with Saryn and this ability is that the more toxin mods on your build, the better. So if you wanted to do this build on Saryn, you'd probably want the normal Phantasma with a plus toxin Riven, maybe toxin multi-shot, and then like whatever else you get. So that's the idea of this. We're going to show you how that works quickly. I could probably change this build a little bit. It's not entirely min-max, but the biggest thing here is Toxin, Combustion Beam, and then like whatever other galvanized stuff you want to throw on here. The Saryn build herself is just big power strength and brief respite, the shield gate and all that. Pretty standard issue for nowadays with this shield getting meta. So we're going to summon in some Corpus, and then actually, let's just get some gameplay. Screw the Simulacrum. This is the Steel Path with the Corpus, same build I just showed you. And this is the Phantasma Prime. So, like, if you want to run the Phantasma normal, it'd probably be better. So basically, just get one kill in an area, the Corpus will explode. Actually, this is a sword. This is not the Steel Path. Get one kill, and the Corpus will explode in toxin in the area. It will work for any beam weapon, but it also works for the alt fire for the Phantasma and Phantasma Prime. So it's basically an exploding shot that will make an after-a-shock explosion of toxin. And since toxin goes through enemy Corpus shields, you will one-shot them up until a point. It is not the biggest, like we're scaling off of 600 damage here, so not exactly like the craziest damage numbers, but it is definitely something you can do if you want like a new fun way to like kill Corpus, I guess, because it doesn't really work good against anything else because it's pure toxin damage, and pretty much the reason that toxin is so good against Corpus is because they have shields and health, and the toxin goes through. Let's just show it in the Simulacrum real quick, as it looks like my teammates are killing stuff pretty quickly in this gameplay footage. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to just jump in here. There's 20 Corpus techs, some of the tankiest Corpus units. Don't even need to group them up. We're going to dash. We're going to use roar, and then we're going to get one kill. And as you can see, one kill, and they're all donezo. That is going to be really only good against Corpus, in my opinion. And then technically you can use the alt fire too, if you really wanted to use it, which I wouldn't really recommend. But yeah, this AoE death. That will actually chain through walls sometimes. I don't know, the line of sight on it is a little bit weird. But I can definitely recommend that to you. Now, as far as weapon grades for this weapon, it's not going to be very different from like way back when I made my initial Phantasma video. Mob clear of A. The only reason it's not S tier is because it doesn't go through walls really. It's got infinite enemy body punch through, but not infinite wall punch through. So you can shoot through like 20 enemies that are like ensnared or larvaed up, but you can't shoot through a 1-inch piece of like metal basically. So really, really good mob clear. As you saw earlier in the video, really, really, really bad Acolyte kill speed, probably like the worst, because of the way the builds are usually made on this thing, where you're getting your corrosive or your. By the way, you can switch for corrosive or viral heat easily. It's not like it's hard. And they're both really good builds. But yeah, it's really bad against Acolytes. Max status potential of A. It's not S because yeah, we're getting like a million heat procs, but we're not getting like different procs. The amount of procs you get with this thing, it's usually going to be like 4, which is really good, actually. We've got Viral, Rad, Electric, Impact on the Saryn build I'm showing you right now. That's pretty good, but, there are weapons that can do better. They can have, like, Impact, Puncture, Slash, and all that stuff I just mentioned off to you as well. So, A plus actually, probably, and then overall grade of A. An excellent weapon, but it's exactly the same as the Phantasma Prime. If you were to, if DE was to change the UI in my game to say Phantasma just normal, I would not notice a difference unless I looked at my Riven. Seriously, like they are super similar, which is why I'm like, why are the Rivens so low on these things? I definitely think that there will be a full video on that soon, but basically, yeah, unnecessary. And, you know, if you want a cool new weapon, sure. I mean, people in my squad were rocking it. It's a pretty fun weapon to use. The Phantasma Normal was like a godly weapon in the first place. And if you want like a good steel path weapon, use this for everything besides Acolytes, I suppose. If you want to use a weapon for Acolytes, things like Glaive Prime, Stropha, you know, like hard-hitting weapons with corrosive builds are great. Even you know, Valkyr's Claws were really good in that one video too. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I'd say overall, the Kuvaton Core, like if you got the Kuvaton Core, just use that instead of this. But it has its own niche situations where I like to use it. It's more of like a casual for fun weapon that's really good for the steel path, but bad for other situations. So I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate all the support lately, and take it easy. Peace.